Okay, guys, so it just came on here to address something that I'm seeing. So everyone is talking about Devon Franklin and his wife, Megan Good, um, the process of divorce that they're going through. And while this is a hot topic for many people, it's also important that we take time to recognize that marriage is hard work and there's a lot of preparation, lots of sacrifice, lots of compromise goes into making a marriage work. And more important, if you're coming into a marriage with different perspective and you have two different worlds coming together, it is not easy to coexist and to really resolve all those differences, knowing that they met and got married within 8 months. So a lot of things I think could have possibly not been completely rectified before they got married, but they managed to cope and to coexist for 8 years, 9 years. So it's important to understand that while we can see something beautiful on the front stage, there are a lot of things that are unresolved in the backstage of a person's life or in a relationship that you see. So I think the most important thing we can do when we see marriage, whether they're beautiful or they look seem to be struggling, is to pray for people to be able to coexist and to have long lasting marriage or relationship. So I'm not one who's gonna say negative things about them and their decision to divorce, because it's sometimes it's better to separate than to live unhappy. And if they weren't living a happy life, then they have to do what is best for them. Now the nature of their divorce is not known. They said it's unresolved differences, things that um, obviously they could not rectify within the marriage. They might have tried many things and didn't work out, but who are we to criticize them? To who are we to be tearing them down? Remember that they're human being after all, even though they might have they might be in the public eyes. They go through their own struggles. They have their own differences. They have conflicts. They have difficult days. They have um, the tough times within marriage. So I think it's so important that many of us learn from this, not just to put people on a pedestal because we see them out there having nice pictures or going on wonderful vacations. That's just the front stage. And oftentimes, if a guest is coming to your house, you fix up the front part, but there are always things in the backstage that needs to be worked on. Ensure that when you go into relationship, you resolve the backstage issues before you try to put an image out in the front stage to appear as if you have it all together, because the reality is we're all work in progress. We're all we all have what they call, TD Jake said, dump in the chunk. We have things that are not that great about us. So we have to ensure that when we get into a marriage, we don't lose ourselves trying to fit in with the marriage, but fix the difficulties that we have within ourselves. Because if we're not working on us, if we're not working on our flaws, if we're not working on our insecurities, if we're not working on the things that are not Christ like within us, then we will go astray. And that's one of the things that many people are saying. Devon is very much of a Christian man and very Christ focused and oriented, while it appears to many that Megan Good is not like that. But the reality is, we don't know a person's relationship with God based on just how they profile. But it's so important also that you have a sincere relationship with God, because the Word of God says, what God has joined together, let no man put asunder. It is God's intention for marriage not to separate. But if people are not first having God as the foundation, then the marriage will always separate. So marriage needs good communication, but marriage needs a foundation that is built on both person believing that there's a third party that sustains that marriage, and that third party is Jesus, because a marriage is a covenant, and a covenant, it requires a binding agreement between parties. God must be fused into your marriage, and then you have to take the practical steps to then go through and navigate through that marriage using practical tools such as communication, such as dealing with conflict, problem solving. All these things are essential skills to develop within your marriage. Because if you're not doing that, you stand a chance of having a marriage that's not going to be effective. So I just came on to share my thoughts on this. Hope you guys found this helpful. Be blessed.